Good evening, folks. I've got 7 o'clock. I believe the full board is in attendance.
Bill, this is Catherine. If you can't see me, I apologize. I'm not sure what the problem is. It may be that my husband somehow changed the setting when he was on a meeting on this.
No
So I
problem.
apologize, but I am here.
You got a cross of, there's a line across the camera, so
Yeah,
it's
I have
funny.
no idea.
I've never seen that symbol before, but
neither have I, and I see this funny thing on my machine too. So, but
No.
I am here and I'm listening.
okay,
And
very
watching.
good. I've got 7:01 and I will call the meeting to order. And indicate all of the full board is here. Item 3 on the agenda is hear from the public. Is there any public to be heard?
Yes.
Be heard right here. Hey, how you doing? Doing well.
Hi, Christine. If you just want to introduce yourself, and
Okay.
the
Yes.
floor will be yours.
Thank you. So I brought this up at the PZC meeting last week and they said it was not something they could do anything about. So I'm going to try you. I've been passing the burned out house across from the fire station on Route 89 for 4 years now. I believe the address is 69 Westford Road. It's not only an eyesore, but it will also seem to me to be a magnet for kids to explore with potentially dire consequences. There are also many apparently junked vehicles around the house, and the trash from inside the house spills out across the property. All of this literally feet from the Mount Hope River. From the zoning regulations, I found a definition of abandonment. The discontinued use of any structure or land for a period of 3 years. The structure shall be considered abandoned if it's fully or partially demolished. The use of a structure or land shall be considered abandoned if the activity or operation ceases. Okay, that's the definition. However, the PZC says there's nothing in the zoning regs about blight or what to do about abandoned property, so they have no authority to deal with this. I'd like to know why the town hasn't remedied this situation after 4 years. Who has the authority to force the cleanup of this land that sits right next to the Mount Hope River at one of the gateways to town and ironically right across from our fire station?
Christine, normally we don't do an answering question during public comment, but I will let you know that I've asked to convene a meeting with both of the land use folks, being our zoning enforcement officer, our building department agent, and also our wetlands folks, and our town attorneys. And I've explained to them that I'm aware we don't have a blight ordinance, but something's got to be done. I have had several conversations in the past 4 months with the owner of that property, who had assured me come the 1st of March, he was going to be taking some action. And we have been trying to accommodate him because I understand there's a number of hardships that he's been going through, but I agree with you. It's a safety concern. It's a concern that's on our radar, and I assure you, and we'll keep you posted as things go on that, but we're going to be on top of that. It's gone on. This was March of 19
Yeah.
that fire was. And, you know, there's a point as well as you like to try to cooperate with people and be understanding. It's gone beyond that. So I appreciate you calling it to our attention. And I assure you we'll stay on that, and I'll keep you informed of it.
Great, thanks a lot.
I'd like to comment as well, Bill. Christine, I also pursued this as first selectman. And at the time, the owner was living on the property. And so we were not able to pursue it at that time. I'm not sure what the circumstances are now, but I'm sure that Bill will continue with the follow-up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Peter Ralston, 39 Nagy Road, Ashford.
I don't know if you can be seen, Peter. You want to come in?
Yeah, I also cannot hear that person.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We're getting them closer. And a little.
You're getting better. I
don't see you in the
can't see
camera
you.
yet, Peter.
Okay, well, I don't really have a face that's all that great anyway, so.
Who is,
Um,
Bill, who is it?
Peter Ralston.
Peter
Oh,
Ralston.
Peter. Okay.
What I'd like to put on the record for this meeting is I'd like to make a request that all 3 selectmen respond to the planning and zoning issue that's going on in the town with the Campanelli text amendment request. I'd like all three representatives to be on record as either being for it or against it or refusing to answer the question. So those.
I'd like to respond to Mr. Ralston.
Sure.
Mr. Ralston, my name is Catherine Silversmith, and my husband is the chair of Planning and Zoning. Therefore, I, like the members of the Planning and Zoning Board, are not at liberty to speak to this. We're not to give our opinion until they've gotten into their deliberations. So I will certainly speak out at that time, but I'm really not at liberty to do that at this time.
Well, okay, so
I don't want any
on the
legal
record,
action.
you're as not having any.
I don't want any legal action to come back if I were to speak.
Peter, if I may just speak for a second,
Sure.
and as you know, I've offered verbal as well as written opinion of,
Yeah, this
As
isn't
a-
really directed towards you.
as a taxpayer and a resident of town, and I made it very clear that was not anything to do with my position as first selectman or on the board of selectmen, that it was strictly being offered as a resident and taxpayer. I will tell you that our town council has advised us a number of months ago that, speaking as a board member, that we were not to do that because this is strictly under the jurisdiction of the P and Z. And because of possible potential future legal situations, as a board, we were not to comment.
Well, what I guess, again, what I would like to be on the record is either a yes answer, a no answer, or a refused answer. And I think the people of Ashford, myself as a voter, I want to know where my town leaders stand on this. So that's a very simple request, just yes, no, or refuse to answer. And if that can.
Mr. Ralston, even though town council has advised us not to do that, we're very concerned. We do not want anyone to be able to come back, and specifically, we would not want the applicant to come back and sue us.
Well, be that as it may, the people that vote in this town need to know where their representatives stand on this that they vote for.
Okay.
So I'm not expecting an answer right now on the spot. I'm telling you this.
Good.
And also, I'll just add to this, I sent an email that was not responded to twice. And this is why I'm here. If you had responded to my email, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm not expecting an answer right now. I'll give you guys time to think about it, how you want to word it, whatever you want to do, but it needs to be on record, your position on this, because the voters need to know that. Just like they need to know the position for the P and Z committee, how they vote. They need to know that too.
Okay. Anything else, Peter?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Any other public to be heard? No? Okay, we're gonna move on for selectmen's briefing. Just two things that I want to make sure that we have on the record. One of them, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we have our annual town budget meeting. It's going to be virtually only, and that can be accessed by going on to the town's website and going in through the Zoom code that's indicated there. It's going to start at 7 o'clock. There will be no votes at that meeting other than selecting a moderator. And I would encourage as many people as possible to attend. The budget is on the webpage. And there are also hard copies in the town clerk's office.
Bill, Bill, has anybody asked for accommodations because they're unable to attend the Zoom session?
I have not heard from anyone.
All right, they have to do that within 48 hours before the meeting.
Yes,
So,
and we have, you know,
Okay.
where we've had those requests, we've been accommodating them.
yes,
The only other thing on my briefing is that the road project on Southward Drive is fully underway. They're doing grinding. They started this morning, and that job is in full force right now. We apologize if there's any inconvenience or any residents there. I'm told by the contractors that they anticipate them being done by the afternoon, next Friday afternoon.
That's good.
That seems to be going pretty smooth. Other than that, I really don't have anything. Item 5 is acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 3rd. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, but I have a correction to them.
Okay,
Give me a second here.
we have a motion. Roger seconded. Your correction or comment? Catherine?
Please give me just a second while I toggle back and forth here. I've been trying to
No
fix the
problem.
other thing. Let's get over to here. So, it was more of a typo. I just have to find it here. Item G, under new business. Phyllis moved addition to the agenda of an executive session to discuss personnel matters. It says patters.
Patters?
Yeah,
We didn't discuss any patters.
no, I don't recall us discussing those.
Okay,
So,
I'll make that well, I'll note that and we have it in the,
yes, thank you.
any other Roger, any other comments, corrections, additions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Hear from boards, commissions, or committees? Hear from boards, commissions, or committees? Hearing none, we will move on. Old business, status of the after-school children's program. At our last meeting, I had mentioned that, well, actually a meeting before that, but that I was going to try to get together with the superintendent and go over what some of our feelings are on that and try to bring her up to date on some of our thoughts and concerns. And they were off last week. I did get an email from Cindy this morning apologizing that she was unavailable, and we've agreed to try to get together Wednesday. So by our next meeting, I'll have an update on that a little further. I did want to, Catherine, ask you, because I may have heard wrong, but when we were talking last week about it, did you mention what the dollar amount you thought it was going to be for upfront money?
It wasn't last week. It was during the previous meeting, and it was my understanding that it was not what we had thought. It was 40,000. It was closer to 80,000.
Okay.
Did you have any more conversations with Dave Ralston about it?
I was just
He's the
gonna-
one. He's
was
the one that can give you the best information.
Okay, I was just going to say, I met after that meeting, I met with David. He was on a little trip. As soon as he got back, he came in to see me. I think it was last Friday. The days go by and float into one another, but he said absolutely not. I told him my recollection was either 70 or 80,000, but I was going to clarify that with you. And
what did he say?
He said, and it was the impression that I had, that we were talking about $2,000 or $3,000 at most. And although we haven't moved on it or there's been any formal, we did think that that was a potential that we could use ARPA funds as a resource. And that,
Bear with me. I'm trying to understand what you're talking about. You're saying he's saying that this after school program is going to cost $2,000 to $3,000?
for upfront money,
Yeah, I don't remember it being a large amount.
No.
upfront
That's-
money only, because and what David emphasized and reiterated with me was this program is going to pay, you have to pay in advance. And it's going to be based on having a minimum number of, if and when it starts, of 15 students involved, but they will all be paid in advance. So none of that money will have to be fronted by the town for payroll
Okay,
or
so-
anything else. So the amount that he said, and he thought 2,000, I thought in the past, we've been talking 2 or 3 at the most. And he concurred that that's his understanding.
So that was, I don't know about you, Roger, but I never heard anybody say $2,000 or $3,000 to do startup. They did not include in their original startup costs were things like background checks, training, any supplies, et cetera, that were needed
Yeah,
to even get the program off the ground.
yeah, I mean, for me, I just remember something, I'll have to go through my notes, but, something in the realm of like, 8 to 10 grand. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
that low, but it certainly wasn't the high amount
Yeah.
that we later heard. I'll go back and check.
So anyway, we can get clarification on that. David said he'd be happy to come to our next meeting if we wanted to talk a little more about it. And I'm hoping by our next meeting next Tuesday morning, perhaps this conversation I will have had with Cindy, I may even invite her to that meeting. We can have, elaborate a little more and make sure we're on the same page, but that's all I had. Catherine, did you have anything more you wanted to talk on that?
No,
Okay, Roger?
no, I know that when he had talked about, when he and I met, and we talked at length, he had said that the program overall, I had originally thought this program was going to be in the neighborhood of $40,000, as clearly with monies coming back in, but that he told me that was just for half a year. So there's a little confusion about that as well. As to, is this something that we anticipate is going to be $40,000 in costs and revenues in the course of a year, or is it going to be 80,000? So,
Yeah, total cost of the year, not from what we were going.
yeah.
Okay, well, we will soon. That's obviously one of the many things that we've got to get clarified, so. Under new business, item 8 is discuss and or act on the Ashford Citizen Administration. From our last meeting, I did hear from Tom King, who I was pleased to hear said he would be happy to participate if we wanted to put together a meeting with people and sort of brainstorm this thing.
Please refresh my memory as to who Tom King is.
He's a resident on James Road here in town, and he publishes the neighborhood.
Okay, neighbors.
Neighbors
Okay, thank you.
that's around, so he's got a familiarity. Margaret Chady actually was the one that recommended it, and I thought it was a good reference. He said he'd be happy to help. He does not do his paper in Publisher. He
No.
uses something that's in a, I guess it's an Adobe with an Apple format. I
Right.
know Sherry Much is on, you may be and this stuff is over my head, but uses something called InDesign.
So Apple is not compatible with what we use.
With Publisher.
Yeah,
No, with, we use, bear with me. We don't have Apple machines. Okay, so,
Sherry, did you
So,
want to comment on
Yeah,
that?
I'd just like to comment on that InDesign is something that was suggested by Joe and Pam of Anything Printed some years ago when we started. It's a very expensive program and it is extremely difficult to learn. So
Right.
Publisher is a platform, if you will, that is simpler. It's something that is more commonly used. It doesn't have the bells and whistles, but it's a little more user-friendly for a general population. So yeah, InDesign, it's at one point, Joe wanted me to consider that. And so I talked to Cheryl Baker at the time about the cost. And it would have been expensive, more expensive, obviously, than what we're using, which is free. Within our Windows 365 suite, Publisher is already there. So, and it's something that the people who send their submissions often use. The library uses it, Parks and Rec uses it. Some of the occasional people who send in things use that as well. So yeah,
InDesign?
No, publisher.
Publisher,
So InDesign is something that, it's, I won't say it's out of our league, but it's something that we were not prepared to spend the money on or put the, let's say the,
Develop the
the-
technical expertise.
yeah, I know, it sounds like, but yeah, exactly. It was a big investment. It was a big investment in many ways.
He
So,
did say that the software was about $800 alone a year. And
yeah,
that you have to renew it.
not-
He kind
not
of
only-
got around, if I could just finish, he kind of got around that because he said he's actually leasing what he uses, so it's running him quite a bit less. But I have no idea. I appreciate your input on that, Sherry. Either the capabilities or how user friendly or not it is. But it's just something that he let me know that that's the format he uses for his publication.
right, yeah. And I
Yeah,
would just say that it's a great direction to go if you want to get, if you want it to be more professional. It is easier for some of the printing houses to use when they're intaking your pages. It may be easier for them, so they like it better. It's less fluky. There's less issues, little quirks that publisher may have that avoids. But yeah, it was just something that we weren't able to get into. But if you want to do it in the future, absolutely go for it.
Well, it's just something that we're looking for suggestions, so we throw them
Yeah,
out and see how they.
Sure.
Thanks, Sherry.
Sure.
So Bill, when you talk about having a meeting with Mr. King about ideas, we really actually need to make decisions now, don't we?
Pretty quickly. We don't have a lot
Yeah.
of time, but what I was hoping to do, and I haven't heard back from Margaret yet, and a couple of other people that I've talked to, was if people are showing an interest. I haven't heard back from Ann Harper, who I emailed on Friday after our meeting. You know, the new director at the library. If we had people, I just thought getting together with a group of us and brainstorming and trying to come up perhaps with a plan would be the way to go. I don't know that we have anything in front of us right now to make any motions on. We certainly want to carry this on our agenda for next Tuesday, but from my end of it, I'm just trying to gather information and get input from people on their thoughts. What I hear from everybody is that they're in agreement that they want us to do everything possible to continue this.
So we really do not have any breathing space because people are already submitting, if I understand correctly, they've already submitted articles for next month. Or for June
Hey, for May.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
that's
and
correct.
and June.
No, just for May.
Okay, we
Well,
don't have any.
there are ads that continue. There are some ads
Yes.
that continue on, yes, but not articles.
Okay, and I have one for June that I'll be
The only-
submitting.
The only other thing that I've done, Sherry was kind enough to put together a list of when we were talking about a standalone setup with a computer and the software and everything. I did forward that on to Savage and asked them to price that for us. That was just Friday. I have not heard back from Eric. If I don't hear back from him tomorrow morning, I'll follow up with him myself. But try to get us an idea of what cost would be involved in going, but Sherry did get that information for us forthwith, and I appreciate that. Other than that, Roger, did you have any comment or
No,
thought on that?
you were mentioning you were gonna talk to somebody over in the library.
Ann Harper, I emailed her, I just haven't heard of, got a feeling she wasn't in today. Sherry, anything more you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I think that you're doing a good job, looking toward the next steps. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And Catherine's also right. We don't have a lot of time on this, so we'll stay on top of it as best we can. All right, under new business, discuss and, excuse me, item B. Jim Rupert, who was our former official, building official, has stepped down for that. He's been appointed, as you're aware, of the full-time town manager position in Bolton. And he brought a gentleman in last week to meet me. Randy Heckman was with him. His name is Rich McKinnon. And Jim has asked us to, and recommended that we appoint him as a Ashford's chief building official. He's taking over for Jim in that capacity with the other towns they represent also. So I would ask for a motion to that effect.
Can you just give us a little background on this person?
Well,
Rich McKinnon in terms of his
yeah,
capabilities, do we have anything written on him?
he's been a building official, and he did tell me what town he was in. I believe he said Southington for a number of years. I know that, and if you want to postpone this until Tuesday, I can ask Jim. I know they did heavy vetting and that they advertised and everything for him. I don't really have a reference to know the gentleman, other than the fact Jim Rupert strongly recommends it. And
Okay, so Bill, we should, any hire, we should make sure that we have
See a resume.
their background information, their
Okay.
resume or something, especially for a job like this.
why don't we not take any action? He is acting in some capacity as it is.
Right now,
Yeah, because he acts for Bolton and he is covering for Randy when he's not here, plus
so is he part of the company that,
yes, he is.
uh,
Yes, he is.
okay, so we
But
need,
I don't-
yeah, we need his credentials.
Why don't we just set this aside and we'll carry it on our next meeting, and I'll ask for the resume that he submitted and whatever vetting they did. I'll forward it on you folks. I understand your point. It's a good point. I have an approval for a Woodward Cemetery deed. Item C. And it's for the town of Ashford.
Do we have anything on that?
Kirsten Richards, yes, we have our typical form in front of us. It's gonna need the three of us to sign.
Yeah.
I've signed it already, but
Did we receive anything in email or anything about this? Other than it was on the agenda?
was on the agenda, and I had the impression that Chris forwarded this to you. And if she didn't, we can get that to you too.
Do you have that, Roger?
No, I don't.
No, I don't have it. So what is the deed? Is it for a single plot or what?
That's correct.
Not 37 of them.
It's lot 6, plot 6,
Sherry.
May I
Second.
speak?
section D, of course.
Okay, this is, it's for a gentleman who is very close to passing. He's an elderly man. He lives here in town and his daughter is purchasing the plot in anticipation of him passing shortly.
I make the
So-
motion that we accept, that we approve this.
Thank you, Sherry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye,
Aye.
and I'm
Uh,
sorry that he's nearing passing.
Well, absolutely. I'm gonna have Roger sign it and I'll leave it in your box, Catherine,
Yep, I'll come down tomorrow and sign it.
or I could give it to Sherry. No, I'll just put it in your box.
And you know what? You can put it in my box or you can leave it out on the table in your office.
Okay, why don't I do that?
You know what? I might just take a little drive down there and sign it so that it's all taken care of tonight.
That's fine, because Chris is not in and
That's good.
I'm gonna be in tomorrow in a late morning, but my wife has got a tooth extraction. Her first ever, and I've got to drive her to the dentist and that for noon,
Okay.
so. there may
So,
be times where I'm not here.
all right, so I'm gonna sign it and then Sherry can have it first thing in the morning.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
right here on the end of the table.
It's on the end of the table.
Will do.
Catherine, you don't really have to do it tonight. Tomorrow, if you want to come by tomorrow, that would be just fine.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Why don't, just in
And-
case for some reason there's a timing issue, Roger's already signed it. I'll leave it on the desk in Sherry's office.
Okay,
On the front counter? Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay.
all right. And Sherry, I'm sorry that I did cut you off. The reason I just moved on because this is an Ashford resident. And it's a plot for an Ashford resident.
Exactly.
there's-
I was concerned about that as well. When you see the address, she lives in North Carolina, but she had
Ah,
come up here and do this for him.
Yeah.
So,
It's-
So,
it's
I wouldn't
time
hesitate
sensitive.
on anybody from town.
Okay, agenda items for our next Board of Selectmen. I think we've discussed a couple that we're going to be carrying till our Tuesday meeting.
But in addition, I actually have been thinking about this. We haven't taken any action to protect the town from groups coming in and purchasing large numbers of plots in our cemeteries. So we have to put something in place that will prevent that.
Well, Sherry and I have talked about that and I agree, and I think Sherry agrees also. Since our last experience with that.
So I don't know what our next steps are on that, but perhaps we can have that on our agenda so that we can get that
We can carry it. and start.
moving along before something else happens and somebody else comes in with a large number of plots that they want from out of state or out of town.
Good idea. I've written it down.
May I speak?
Of course.
I hate to keep popping in and out like this.
We
but
appreciate
I
you
didn't
popping in.
Anticipate needing time.
It's appreciated.
I guess what I would like to share with you is something I recently, when I was reading the 250th book about Ashford, there was a little section in there about Fred Fitz and how much he did for the town cemeteries and his donation of $21,000 and how he physically went and cleared all these cemeteries. And there is a statement there that said that the only thing that he asked was that the town continue to make sure that the cemeteries were well taken care of. And I saw that, it was a couple weeks ago, and I thought, oh, we really morally, we really are accountable to someone for this, because he took care of things at a time when the town wasn't taking care of it. And so I think that we really do have a moral obligation to look at this. I forgot this. And it said that his wish was that there would be that the town would form a committee to take care of the cemeteries. And that's when I thought, oh, pooh, we forgot about that part. So I have said this before, and I still feel that it's something that we should examine, is having a cemetery committee so that we can look at these issues in an organized way and make sure that we're taking care of everything. Two things, I am going to be looking into and applying to use our state library grant that we get every year. This year it's $6,000. And I am looking into spending that on a cemetery management program for, digital, that we can keep track, not just the town cemeteries, but the others that are private, because they tend to lose their information. And that's part of our history, and it's very important. It's very permanent. When they're buried, and a lot of that information is being lost. So I want to do that. And the other thing, just a heads up, that Westford Village Cemetery, they are having a very difficult time continuing to manage that cemetery. And the gentleman who was sexton came in a couple days ago, and he asked me if I thought that the town would consider taking over management of it. And he said they have funds. It's not a question of money. The problem is that when the management is being handled by somebody who is less than responsible, it is creating some serious problems. I had Potters call me 2 weeks ago, and they had to bury somebody, and they didn't know where to put them, and they could not get in touch with the person who had the map, who
Oh,
knew
my.
literally where the bodies were buried. And it was, they went, and we do not still know how they knew where to put that body, but they did. That person's buried. But that sexton, the new sexton, Ron Kovarovics, was very, very concerned. And so I do think I would ask that we do consider this at some point. Okay,
So,
thanks.
so Bill, maybe what we can make sure we cover in our next meeting is establishing a cemetery committee.
We can actually we'll put that on the agenda and talk about it, as you know.
Yeah.
Getting
Anything we
people
can
that
get.
have the time to help with our committees is getting tougher and tougher, but.
Well, I know I would be willing to volunteer for this committee.
Did we have at the time, Mr. Fitz donated that, did we have a sexton at that time, a town sexton and everything, do you know, Sherry?
You know, I don't know. I do not know. It seems like it was something that had progressed for many, many decades for the trees to have grown into the cemetery up by the gazebo up on the green there, that it had been let go for a long time. But I will say that Jim Ravitsky very much wants this, and I do as well. So that would be 2 members of the committee who should be on it, I believe.
Okay.
And so we can maybe go start with that.
And I discussed this with Jim when I was first selectman. And I do feel that this is something we need to put in place. Do we have documented procedures and policies around our cemeteries, the ones we manage? I can't remember.
There is a short 1 page that tells you what you can and cannot do. Like you can't plant bushes, and you can't leave permanent things like statuary. That is just for the people who have loved ones who are buried. But aside from that, we have no policies, none, zero.
If you're able to, could you send that out to us so that we at least have that in front of us?
Sure.
Sure.
You still have the PDFs I sent you?
I do, Roger. Thank you. Actually, I printed them too. Yes.
Excellent.
PDFs?
Okay.
I went online and researched other towns and their policies and procedures for cemeteries. And
Good man. Thank you.
Very good. All right, well, we will do that. We'll carry that on our agendas and
have we given consideration for identifying future cemetery areas?
Oh, good question.
it's been discussed. But I don't know if we've actually got into any planning on it.
I mean, now that, now that we have potentially the old, the barn, the
Tail Rock?
pit, we don't use that word, the former.
The C word?
Yeah, I mean, investigate using any of that land or, or have we identified other possible land in the town?
Well, I know that Michael Gardner owns some land that abuts Woodward.
Mhm.
Yes.
There was some discussion of that at one time, but what I seem to remember hearing, we can certainly look into it a little more, that the large bulk of that was heavily wetland.
Yeah.
That we couldn't use, but anyway, those are things we can certainly talk about. And yeah, Sherry, if you have any documentation or anything more, and can get it out to us, we'll try to reach it out. We'll get it to everybody. So we're looking at the same thing, see what we can do.
Okay, very good.
Did I hear you say you would volunteer to be on that committee?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right.
Please.
And
please put me on it.
I'm also volunteering.
It sounds like we have 3 potential members already, so.
Yep.
All right, folks, I've got 7:40. Is there anything else anybody wants to discuss? I'll take a motion.
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
That's 7:40. Thank you very much, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you.